From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I wasn't sure how many people were going to brave the elements to come to work or to come to the concert, so welcome. I'm Thea Austin, the Public Events Coordinator for the American Folklife Center, and on behalf of our entire staff, we want to welcome you to the second concert in the Homegrown Music of America concert series that the American Folklife Center runs every year. The series was designed to feature the very best of traditional music and dance from around the nation. And we work with a number of very talented and dedicated folk arts coordinators across the country to help us select the most exciting performers from various communities. Today we have two amazing researchers and scholars as well as performers who are going to share what they know with you. Today's concert is brought to you in joint sponsorship with the Music Division. And I want to have a special shout out for Mike Turpin and Jay Kinlock from the Music Division, who are doing sound for us, assisted ably by John Gold. No. Our own staff, and also a thank you to our ITS colleague, Clay, who is taping this. And so this is a good time to remind people to just turn off their cell phones. Or quiet your ring, unless you want to be part of this concert forever and ever. Today's performance will be recorded, and the concert will become part of our permanent collection, as well as be part of a webcast that's going to go up on our website. So anywhere in the world, you will be able to watch this concert, or tell your friends about it and have them watch it. Today we're going to have a tour of traditional fiddle music from Norway and Sweden, presented by two of the most accomplished researchers and performers of these traditions. Andrea Hoag and Loretta Kelley are among the United States' foremost performers of Scandinavian traditional music. Each of them has spent years studying with tradition bearers in Norway and Sweden and honing their traditions at home, these techniques at home. They have many acclaimed recordings, including Hombo in the Snow with our friend Charlie Pilzer, which was nominated in 2007 for a Grammy Award as Best Traditional World Music Album. And I'm sure if you want to get a hold of that, you can come and talk to them afterwards. As the recipient of a fellowship from Skandia Music Foundation, Andrea Hoag studied in Sweden and became the first non-Swede to earn a certificate in Folk Violin Pedagogy in 1984. Since 1979, Loretta Kelley has made over 25 trips to Norway to study with master Hardingfele players. And you'll see some very, very beautiful Hardanger fiddles up here. I'm sure she'll tell you about those, as well as her beautiful costume. Although there's so much to say, she needs a couple of hours to go into that. Anyway, they both studied with many masters in many places, none of which I can pronounce. So I'm going to let them take care of that for you. So please welcome Andrea Hoag and Loretta Kelley.
side from Jämtland. If you want to look at your map, it's in the northwest, a big province close to Norway. You need the mic for talking? Oh, we need this mic for talking, for the recording. So this was a waltz from Jämtland in northern Sweden along the Norwegian border, kind of a culture area where Sweden and Norway have a lot in common. So Loretta's going to be presenting Norwegian music for a while, and then I will present some Swedish music, and we'll finish off with some more things together. Loretta Kelley.
Thank you. We are now jumping over the mountains of Sweden to the mountainous areas of Norway, featuring the Hardanger fiddle with 4 or 5 sympathetic strings that run under the fingerboard. And this music is special to Norway. It has been exported to some countries, but it has grown up there for a very, very long tradition, over 400 years, being passed down continuously from master to pupil. And I have spent many, many wonderful hours and days and months in Norway studying with some wonderful fiddlers there, and I spent most of my time in the area of Telemark. And this is a festive costume from the area of Telemark, from a pattern dating around 1800. And these costumes are used for weddings, parties, any festive occasion in Norway. And I would like to play a tune for you on the Hardanger fiddle, one of the oldest tunes for this instrument, dating back to probably maybe as early as the late 1600s, called Haugelåten, the tune from the hill. I learned this from one of my mentors, one of my favorite fiddlers in Norway, Hauk Buen, a great tradition bearer of the Telemark style. And this tune has a little legend that goes with it, that a man was hunting for his lost ox, and he fell asleep on a mountainside on a little hill, and he woke up hearing the singing of a beautiful woman who said, "So you will play this tune when you come back home to your wife and children." This is Haugelåten. Songs that go along with them. And so the tune is based upon the song, or maybe the song is based upon the tune. And I'd like to share one of these songs with you called Jol Ragnhild, Vain Ragnhild. And she's boasting about how many suitors she has. And she has Halvor, she has the village blacksmith, and she has Halvor the tramp, and she has Aslak the village idiot, and everyone is coming to court her, and they're all jumping up and down in the yard like little billy goats.
Lingen har så mange dumpa som veg. Jeg har jonskomaker, jeg har hjemmens med. Jeg har halve tramp og en hjemmen te. Og slags smeltepatte han ligat av fe. Sundadlidadadidadido.
bobbing up and down. This music is primarily music for dancing, dancing at weddings and dancing at parties. It's couple dancing. This particular tune that I was playing is a Springar dance from Telemark, and it's an improvisatory couple dance, a lot like swing, that partners do various figures based upon how they feel at the moment with the music and the partner they're dancing with. And these dances date back to the Middle Ages, very courtly, but fast and furious sometimes. They can get very people can go into a trance sometimes doing these dances all night long. I brought several fiddles along with me because I wanted to demonstrate the different tunings on these instruments and also the tuning. These instruments go out of tune very easily. They have gut strings. Another tune for you from the area of Telemark that I learned from one of my teachers there, Olav Öjeland, the tradition bearer of the Tin tradition in Telemark. Tin is a little county within Telemark. And this tune is found in, most importantly in Valdres, but it was also played in Telemark. And this is Olav Öjeland's version. The bells of the Church of St. Thomas. And there's a long legend about how when the church was dismantled, they took the bells out of the tower and brought them down the hill, the mountainside, and they were crossing a frozen lake on a sledge with the two bells when the ice broke and one of the bells fell in and was lost. So the bell at the bottom of the lake is still there, and it's said to answer the ringing of the bell that was saved when it rings in the new church that it was put into. A musical tour of Norway, and to do a real tour would take several hours at least. So I'm just going to do a very short excursion over to the area of Valdres, a long valley located to the east of Telemark, where I've also spent a lot of time and learned the special dance traditions from that area, dance fiddling. And they also have the springar in Valdres, but has a completely different rhythm. Now you might have noticed when I was showing you the Telemark springar rhythm, I was bouncing up and down in this sort of like a triangular wheel with one of the two edges a little bit longer than the other. So it was going like that. So it was not completely round. The Valdres has a wheel that's not round in the other direction, so it goes da 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 da, and it's much faster, and the dance is frenetic and wild, and so I just play a little bit of a Valdres springar tune. Called Sjöheimen, named after a famous fiddler from Valdres, and I learned this from Tore Bolstad, the grandnephew of one of Valdres's greatest tradition bearers, Torleif Bolstad. jump back over to Sweden. And this is from the valley of Setesdal in southern Norway. You can see a long valley running north and south. This was one of the most isolated areas in Norway. They did not get a year-round road into the valley until 1960. And it had developed a very sophisticated and elaborate tradition of fiddle playing and Hardingfele playing there. It was one of the few areas in Norway, or maybe the only one as far as I know, that has a tradition of trance music. Tunes that are supposed to be able to put you into a trance when you play them or listen to them. This tune from Halvard Bjørgum, the son of the great Setesdal tradition bearer Torleif Bjørgum, and it's called Domedagsslåtten, the Judgment Day tune. Called that because it's supposed to be the tune that you hear when you rise up from the grave.
The other thing to listen for is the scale. It's not the scale you would find on a piano, so I'll say no more about that just yet. long dance from Solorun. Solorun is an island in the Lake Siljan in Dalarna, a wonderful, rich province of folk tradition in Sweden. So that scale had a lot of notes that were maybe in between an F and an F sharp, or they even the use of ornaments is not so much to say, listen to this note, but to put a different color on the note. So the note might change color even while being played with the use of ornaments. And in Sweden, they call this kind of scale vallotstoner, and vallot, that means herding music. So in the old days, when there were no instruments out on the farm, they would make instruments from nature, a willow pipe or a cow's horn or a sheep horn. You would put holes in that and play it, and so you get the natural overtones rather than the tempered scale that we think of in Western music. So very interesting for the ear to listen to some of those older ideas of constructing a scale. So I'm going to play another tune from not too far away there in Dalarna, from the village of Ure. And the first major collector of Swedish folk music, Karl Erik Forslund, he said he loved the music of Ure. It seemed to him melancholy with flashes of brightness. And I think that's an excellent description. So this will be a polska. Loretta talked about springar. In Sweden, it's all about the polska that comes from that rhythm of 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. And there are different kinds of things that happen within those 3 beats, but it's much older than the waltz. And here is a polska after a fiddler named Knuter Jon from Ure. Said it would take hours to really do a tour of the music of Sweden and Norway. But I'm going to give you just a quick thumbnail tour. And in Sweden, we talk about 3 kinds of polska: 8th note, triplet, and 16th note. And the one I just played was 8th note, which means the beats can move around a bit inside the beat. And I'll talk more about that later. Triplets, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. Very straightforward. And 16th note, they're also very regular. It means each beat can be divided into 4. Da-da-da-dee, 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 da. So of the three kinds, the eighth note polskas have a lot more of the thing you heard in Norway, of different ways of counting to three. But I'm going to play a triplet polska for you, and they tend to be mainly along the west side of Sweden. This one comes again from Jämtland in the northwest, and it's a tune from, many times in Sweden the tunes don't have a name, but we refer to the fiddler who passed them on into the tradition, or sometimes the fiddler I learned from. But in this case, the tune is just called Polska efter Ante Falk, because Ante Falk made not only this tune well known, but he was a very, very well known fiddler from Jämtland, along with his brother Olle Falk. Jämtland, yes, now a little bit south and west of Lapland. Yes, so Polska from Jämtland. Ante Falk lived from 1886 to 1976, just so you have an idea. Very influential. I see Linda Brooks and Ross Shipper smiling to that tune. I just want to give a shout out to Linda and Ross here, who are amazing experts in the Swedish dances. So if you have any questions about the dancing, they're the ones. I'm going to move over to the East Coast. So along the east and south of Sweden, there was much more influence from what the Swedes call Europe. I know we think Sweden is part of Europe, but you know, the continent. Music came up from the continent, and in particular, Baroque rhythms and Baroque feeling. This is going to be a tune from Gästrikland. Gästrikland and Hälsingland are two provinces that have a lot in common tune-wise. This one has the name of Bellmans Polska, named after Carl Michael Bellman, who was a troubadour, a composer, songwriter, and singer in the 1700s, very much beloved in Sweden. tune. I'm going to go a bit further south, and along southern Sweden there were a number of provinces that had a dance called slängpolska. That name is found in the north with an entirely different rhythm, but in the south of Sweden, slängpolska is a 16th note tune, but instead of having that very straightforward feel that we just heard, it has what a friend of mine once compared to horses cantering over low green hills. In Norway and Sweden both, in the dancing, there's a term called svikt, which means up and downness. So sometimes a dance will have sudden motions up, and other times it will be down into the ground. This one I think you can really feel just a nice rolling sound. This will be a slängpolska from Sörmland, which is close to Stockholm. And I learned this in the tradition. I had the privilege of meeting quite a few elder fiddlers. This was a tradition bearer really in my own age group, Elke Frizzell, who came up in the generation where Swedish folk music had become very popular again. In the 1980s, they talked about gröna vågen, the green wave. And so a lot of fiddlers began to grow up hearing the music again after years of popular music having taken over. So Elke, in her 20s, was already a great scholar of the music and also one of the most gifted teachers I've ever met, and really enjoyed watching her teach every chance I got. And I learned this tune from her at this time of year. In the Lenten season, they have a pastry, I guess you would say, called simla. It's a bun. It's kind of sort of like a cream puff in a way. And you eat it in a bowl of warm milk. And ooh, it's such a great thing for the wintertime. So I always associate this rather mournful tune with a very happy, sweet pastry. Started with the long dance to the little village of Bingsjo. This is my favorite music and the place where I spent the most time learning from Pekkos Gustaf, an elder fiddler, quite an amazing man. His family had lived there and farmed there for a couple of centuries, and his great uncle and great uncle, Pekkos Per, was the legendary fiddler of Bingsjo in the 1800s. Bingsjo is one of the Finnmarks that you find in Sweden and Norway, and what that means is in the 1500s, when times were very bad in Finland, the king of Sweden and of Norway said, we will give you some places you can live over here in our country, but out in the woods, away from everybody. And Bingsjo the road into Bingsjo was not paved until the 1990s. It was a long, 30-mile dirt road from the nearest town. And as with many of the Finnmarks, they developed a style of playing that was really unique and in many cases very almost frenetic and intense, the styles of music that you tend to find in Finnmarks. So Bingsjo, it's the 16th note polska, but it's a long way from the Baroque tradition, I think. A lot of ornaments, those different scales that I talked about, and a little bit of push and pull in the rhythm. This will be a tune that Pekkos Gustaf played called Djävuls polskan, the Devil's Polska. harmony playing became a very strong tradition in Swedish fiddling, so much so that when most people think Swedish fiddling, if they think anything at all, they think two fiddle players playing together. So I'm going to invite Loretta up to join me on a few tunes. And I mentioned before, the eighth note polskas have different kinds of rhythms, and there are many, many, many variations. But we're going to do something a little bit radical and put two different kinds together. We're going to do a bund polska, that means farmer polska, and that's from the province of Uppland, north of Stockholm, and from a fiddler named Vikste Lasse. And this one has a little song that goes with it that says, the first time they read the banns, announced the upcoming marriage in church, the women folk came and said that Kari was pregnant. Between me and Kari, there has come another. Between me and Kari, there has come another. What the hell, I'll take her. So that is that song. And then we're going to move west back over to Dalarna, to the village of Boda. And these traditions are very much living traditions. Many people are composing tunes in the old styles. And this is one that was composed, I believe in the 80s, maybe 70s, by Rojas Jonas from the Rojas musical family of Boda. And it was written as a gift for a wedding. It's called Maka är du Britta. Britta, now you are a wife. So we get the whole marriage picture here in two traditions. We're just switching so that the melody fiddle is coming more at you. Okay, I'm going to sing my little song now. Wish me luck, because I don't have much voice. Första gången som det var lyst, då kom till folka och sa att Kari var tränner. Första gången som det var lyst, då kom till folka och sa att Kari var tränner. Mellan mig och Kari har en annan varit, mellan mig och Kari har en annan varit. Ta mig sjutton, jag tar den av. So two different feels, very different ways of treating the second beat. So one thing we have not even touched on is the gammaldans music. We've been playing the old traditional music, what's called bygdedans music. Gammaldans means old, but it's actually newer than the old music. It's dances that became popular in the 1800s. If you went to a dance, say around 1950, you would be dancing hambo, which came out of Polska, waltz, schottisch, polka, and tango. Those were the popular dances. So we're just going to give you a little sample of what you might hear at a dance today and play a schottisch, Hottis, by Tore Herdelin from Helsingland.
Oh, did you want to give the name of the tune?
Oh, the name of the tune.
Well,
Well, it actually has a lot of different names. I think he originally called it Ubåts Hottis, which translates as submarine schottisch. But for some reason, it became known as the leaky boat schottisch. tune for you here. Now, if you go to a dance in Sweden or Norway today, you'll find a lot of people who know the old dances. And one that's become very popular all over the place in recent years is the Southern slingpolska, that rolling one. It has a pretty improvisational way to dance. So maybe the Norwegians have rubbed off on the Swedes a little bit.
Or the other way around.
So this one comes from Småland in the south of Sweden, which is also the single province that sent the most immigrants to the U.S. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That brings our program to an end, and we want to offer great thanks to Library of Congress, to Thea Austin for arranging this, and Jay and Mike and all the audiovisual team. And I think we have time to do just one more tune from Norway. Would you like that?
Before we do our last tune, I'd just like to mention you're all welcome to come up and take a closer look at our instruments. And you can also ask me more about the Hardanger Fiddle Association of America and our website at hfaa.org. So here is a tune from Norway from the UNESCO World Heritage town of Røros, up high up in the mountains.
And you can also ask us about our recordings.
music at midnight in a candlelit schoolhouse, you're really missing something. So I think you should look up these guys, look up their website, and also look into Scandinavian dancing in your neighborhood, because there is some. There's some local Scandinavian dancing groups. So try it. It's amazing. It feels amazing to do that. Please join us next week if you have the opportunity. On February 25th, David Broza will be here in conversation with our colleague Nancy Gross. He's a multi-talented Israeli singer-songwriter and a Palestinian Israeli, I guess. He's going to be dancing, he's going to be talking with a Palestinian Israeli, what's it? Mirawad.
Who's a Israeli-Palestinian musician.
Israeli.
Very talented.
And they have a project called East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem. So they'll be here in conversation with Nancy on February 25th. Our next concert is March 18th. It'll be a gospel group from Maryland called the Royal Harmonizers. They don't perform much out of churches, but they have agreed to come and sing for us. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you soon.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.